So exactly, totally right. It's really why I'm showing you this. I don't really care to talk about Monsanto or any of these guys, you know. But I think we need to talk about it just in terms of on my Facebook, which is Practical Permaculture, I just put a posting that said, "Occupy the food system," and that's really what it's about. Is bringing back the food to ourselves because we've lost control of it. And only if you're paying attention with what you buy, and only if you're growing your own, can you bring it back.
That's right.
So that's what I want to talk a little bit about here. So in permaculture, we look at polyculture because when you look at nature, things are in a polyculture. All right, and we have permaculture farms around the world. I'll show you in just 1 second. We have farms across the world now that are making more money growing in a polyculture than have you seen the Midwest, which is miles and miles of corn and miles of soy?
Oh, yeah.
It's unbelievable. And these guys are hurting financially. So this is a monoculture. Just one thing. And polyculture means that you're going to have more than one thing. And just looking to nature. Now, one of my teachers, Jeff Lawton, gave me these pictures from the Amazon, where they're chain lining the Amazon to plant a monoculture. And what do you think that monoculture is?
Tobacco. Coffee.
Soy.
Grass.
Canola.
Soy. It's soy. There it is right there. But just check this out. There's the jungle. It went down. And then there is the soy being planted. And what's happening is the runoff is incredible. So we're losing the topsoil. So I thought I'd just show you this because in permaculture we like to show you what the problem is so we can see how to do it right. So the question is, what's the total cost of all these things? Because really the taxpayer pays for all this because we got to fix it all. All right, so I want to talk a little bit about a corporate cup of tea. So we go to, I'm as bad as anybody else. I go to the briar patch and I buy a box of tea, right? Or I could grow it at home. You know, where I live in Zone 8, you can grow green tea.
Nice.
Yeah. So, what goes into all of this? What has to happen for the box, for the tea, for the transportation, the energy, and all this? All the advertising for everything. So this is what we say in permaculture. You want to check for sustainability. First of all, whatever you're doing, does it build topsoil? Now, at the ag schools, they say it takes 1,000 years to build an inch of soil. Do you believe that?
No. Egg school?
Agricultural schools
okay.
say it takes 1,000 years to build an inch of soil.
I believe
it does their way. It does their way, yes. Okay. What are the inputs of the next question? What are you putting into it? Now, a lot of the master gardeners will say that rock phosphate has to go in the soil because we don't have any phosphate here, they say, which is not true. So people rush out and buy all these bags of rock phosphate. Do you know that rock phosphate is now at peak? We're at peak phosphate. There's hardly any phosphate left in the world, except for in the soil where, we have tons of phosphate in our soil. We need microbes to unlock it. So if we're going to have an input, should we do rock phosphate or should we do microbes?
microbes.
What do you think?
My son,
Yeah.
everybody, he's going to do a workshop for garden goddesses, and he will change your life.
So then the next question is, what is the distance and how did it get here? Now I have to tell you, I love bananas, but I'm not eating so many of them. How come?
Grow your own.
So far.
Hell, I grow my own because they come from so far away, and the inputs and the transportation make it not sustainable. And then the last question is, what are the wastes? And in permaculture, we don't acknowledge waste because we use waste, and it becomes something, so we recycle it. So sustainability then is when the yield is greater than the inputs.
What is that a picture of? I can't.
It's a restaurant that has
Garden around it.
has all the stuff for the restaurant growing around it.
Where is that?
I think it's in Canada, in BC, in Victoria.
I've been to Victoria. It's amazing.
It is pretty amazing. But not only is it greater than the inputs, but it becomes steady. And so much of the food that we have nowadays is not like this. Do you know that the average food that you eat, whether it's organic or not, takes 10 calories to give you 1 calorie?
Wow.
How sustainable is that?
Wait, say that again?
All right.
Takes
For
10
you to buy 1
calories.
calorie of food, it takes 10 calories to give you that food for all the production part that goes with it. So that's not sustainable.
No.
And also, if you're not paying for the waste cleanup, then who's paying for it? The taxpayer's paying for it, so they're not even paying for that. All right, so the soil food web is what I want to talk to you about. And what I love about permaculture is we have such great, inspiring heroes. And Dr. Elaine Ingham, we've just brought her here in January. How many of you heard her speak?
What's her name again?
Elaine Ingham, I-N-G-H-A-M. So she was the first scientist that had the 600x microscopes that asked the question, is the soil alive? Because the scientists to that point were saying, I mean, from the 1950s when we started putting the nitrogen from bombs on our soil as fertilizer, you guys know that that's where it came from? The bombs. We didn't need the bombs anymore after the end of World War II, so we started putting it on our soil.
What do you think they do with the fluoride that they get from industry?
Oh, the fluoride, isn't that nice too? Yeah, so break your hips, yeah. Anyway, she looked in there and said, wow, there's stuff in the soil. So she is the person who came up with the soil food web, which is, when I heard her speak for the first time about 15 years ago, I cried with tears of joy because I knew nature was onto something. And I knew that the chemical farmers and even the organic farmers weren't onto it, but I knew there had to be something better that nature modeled, and this is what it is. And what happens is, okay, you start at this first level here, you've got the plants and their roots and the organic matter that you put on them, and then all these other things, mainly the bacteria, which is everywhere, the fungi, the nematodes, and there's good nematodes and bad nematodes. Usually there's like 5 to 1 good to bad, so I don't even worry about them. The arthropods and the protozoa and birds and the animals and all the different things are all working, and how it works, and I don't have it exactly down, but like a bacteria poops, and then something else eats that, and then something else eats it and poops, and it's nitrogen. And then something, the mycelium starts to grow, which is a fungi, and hooks into the roots, and then the roots take about 25% of their photosynthesis and make a sugar exudate that goes out to the fungi, and then the fungi goes, what do you need? And the roots, the plant says, I need water. And so then there's this whole thing that happens way out, bringing water in, or boron, or phosphate, or whatever you need. I think it's beautiful. It's really beautiful. And
Alive.
yeah, tilling your soil kills it. Yeah, so I don't till my soil. And putting chemicals on it kills it. And sorry for the bad news, putting fertilizer, organic fertilizer on the soil kills it too. So, I want to introduce you to the real farmers. So imagine we go to your house and take 1 teaspoon of garden soil. Let's take a teaspoon of your garden soil. All right? And here's what you've got in that teaspoon. You've got between 100 million and 10 billion bacteria, but not alone. Several yards of fungi, thousands of protozoa, and these guys are the real farmers that are doing the work for you.
Absolutely.
This is what it's all about right here. So when you inoculate the soil and you kickstart the soil, either with compost or compost tea, these are all made up of microbes. The teas are made up of microbes. They have microbes in them and other things to feed the microbes. Eventually you can stop adding anything to your soil.
Yep.
And the interesting thing for me, because I learned permaculture in the desert, is that you drought-proof your property so that your soil keeps the moisture in it. And it eliminates bad weeds and eliminates insects over a period of time. So this is truly exciting to me.
Yeah.
And I just look at the way people farm and just go, they're just creating their own problems. And then what happens is you just look at one thing, oh, this bug, instead of looking at, well, why is that bug there? Because the plant's not healthy because it doesn't have the soil food web.
So it brings up the sugar content too in the plants. So
Yeah.
then it makes these crystals so that the bugs can't. It crystallizes and kills the bugs.
And the mushrooms are helping with keeping the bugs away too. It's really exciting. So modern ag, in my opinion, and I don't care whether it's organic or not, we have animals in prison, and we have plants on welfare. That's really what it is. And we have microbes that are either dead or asleep. And it's time to change this because ag in the U.S. is collapsing. I don't know if you're aware of this, but it's falling apart quickly.
We talked about that recently, about California.
Yep. So, two things right here. If you hear anything I'm saying, it's these two things right here. Inoculate your soil with the best possible compost. You want, if you're going to make compost, you want hot compost, hot thermal compost, and there's directions on the web. And make aerated compost tea or compost extract. And I like to get, when I am doing a job and I need a bunch, I go to Vital Gardening, which is on Railroad Road, and then they have the recipe there that you can get. And then, you know, they tell you how much of the microbes to put in and all that stuff too. So that's number one. And number two, put a thick mulch on your property. When you mulch your property, you're saying to the microbes, hey, let's party! I'm serious.